Hi, it's Leah here from Invoke Spirit. I'm a medical intuitive and healer, and today I wanted to talk about medical intuition. To me, it's pretty clear what medical intuition is, but I do have people ask now and again, what is that? And I thought I might talk a little bit about what it is, its purpose, and why you might get one or not get one. So to be clear, like I wasn't trained as a medical intuitive. I developed my own technique. So I can't really speak for all medical intuitives that are out there, but I do believe that we fundamentally are aiming for the same outcome. The term was first coined by Dr. Norm Shealy to describe what he discovered in Caroline Myss. I believe she was doing medical intuitive readings since the 80s. So that doesn't actually mean that it didn't exist before that in history, but modern medicine has only really risen to existence from the 19th century. And also education in the collective has also been rising for the last 100 years or so. And so before that, reading and writing was only for the elite and for the selected. So things like anatomy and physiology, which has actually, the basic knowledge of that's been around for centuries, hasn't really reached the collective until quite recently. So for a medical intuitive, that possibility and that understanding of using intuition, but using anatomy and physiology as a structure behind the reading, that opportunity wasn't available until quite recently. So it kind of makes sense that the medical intuitive isn't really mentioned before, like centuries before, for long ago, even though it might have been, people might have been doing it in their own way for, I don't know, maybe hundreds of years. But if we break up the word, medical intuition, so medical pertains to body and health, and that usually medical indicates the practice of medicine. So that's where it gets confusing, because, and I find it a bit surprising that people just assume immediately that it would mean that you would be a doctor or you would be practicing medicine, prescribing drugs or pharmaceuticals, but that's not what a medical intuitive does. And so people think it might be medicine or diagnosing diseases, and that's not what we do. But it does require an understanding of how the body functions, and in that way, using anatomy and physiology, such as the body organs or the glands or cellular health, and then using that to bring through intuitive information, and specifically for people's health. The word intuition means ability to acquire knowledge without any proof or evidence or any reasoning. And this is just meaning that when you have a medical intuitive reading, there's no need for medical tests. So in a medical system, they would undergo rigorous medical tests or procedures to come to the answers and to their diagnosis. Medical intuitive doesn't really diagnose diseases, even though I believe Dr. Norm Shealy did use Caroline Myss to help diagnose for really difficult cases. But you notice that Caroline Myss didn't actually diagnose the disease, Dr. Norm Shealy did. And he was just using the information that Caroline Myss would bring through as clues for him to be able to get clear on his diagnosis. So the medical tests aren't required for reading. But I personally believe, I like people who come for reading to have done medical tests if they can and if it's safe to do so, because the more clearer the information, the easier it is to delve deeper and get really clear on what's really going on and how the person can move forward for their health. So medical intuition is gaining information and knowledge of what's happening in the body's anatomy and physiology without the need of tests and scans, to be able to get intuitive information that will help them move forward on their health. This often, but not always, means that being able to see into the body in some shape or form. But it goes a lot deeper than that, because it's not just about looking in like an X-ray and looking in and seeing what you can see, but to be able to get to extract other information like maybe pertaining memories or emotions that are related or tendencies towards disease or even a sense of something that could be prevented. And so medical intuitives usually also provide a metaphysical aspect to a presenting illness, which is unlike the medical system because most intuitives and most medical intuitives have an acceptance that thoughts and attitudes can also affect the physical body. And also that we aren't a separate being, so we're this chaotic mix of different aspects of ourselves that are all joined and connected in some way. And then lastly, like other information is that medical intuitives don't need to be trained. So unlike a doctor who has to go through a preset training and then eventually obtain a license to practice, medical intuitives don't have to do that. But you might find that some medical intuitives are trained because there's people that are teaching medical intuition now. I've taught a few people my techniques. And so there are people who have been trained, and then there are people who have found their own abilities. And so either way is just as good as the other. But you might find that some people already, some medical intuitives are doctors or are nurses or natural therapists, and some are just dragged kicking and screaming along the way. So the main purpose I find behind a medical intuition reading is to provide that intuitive information to assist you on your health journey. And it's most useful, I find it's most useful in cases where people need direction. So they've tried almost everything that they can think of and they still don't know what to do yet. They're still not finding the traction that they need to move forward in their health. They may have been going through years of exams, like medical tests and scans and blood tests and everything, and they're still not getting the answer, or they've just been told that there's nothing that they can do and they're incurable. But part of them is just not satisfied with the answer. Part of them wants to do something, wants to be able to affect change in their body. So that's where coming to see a medical intuitive would be really useful, because it can open your mind to what else you could do, what else might be, what might match your body, or what might work for you better than what you've been trying already. And most importantly, I think, is that it's really useful for people who want to understand themselves, understand their bodies, and what their personal needs are. What I find medical intuition is not for is for people who want to find out whether they have a disease, or they want to be told what medication to take, because that's not what we do. That's what a doctor does. But it doesn't mean that we can't share with you the tendencies or trends in the body that you may be heading towards. It just means that we can't give you a diagnosis. So you've got to be really careful with that, going to that type of thinking and that kind of expectations. It's also not for people who want to have this unnatural obsession about cheating death or avoiding any illnesses whatsoever, because that's not reality and that's not life. So it's important to be being open to the fact that bad things might happen, but that you can take action to help assist you and nurture you and move forward. And then it's also not for people who want to give up responsibility for their health and not have to deal with it anymore, because the reality is that our bodies are with us for this lifetime, and it's our own personal responsibility to be moving forward and developing a relationship with your own body. So it's not the medical intuition reading is not there to solve all your problems. It's just there to guide you. It's to help you take the next step to understand yourself better and then move forward. So I hope that's given some clarity. It makes sense to me, but I'm hoping that that's given some clarity. I will be talking in future videos about how it works and what constitutes a good or a bad reading, and if you are going to have one, you know, how to make sure that you have a good reading, of what you can do to make sure that that reading is going to benefit you and be a powerful one for you. So in the meantime, feel free to ask any questions below, and look out for any future videos. So thanks for listening, and wishing you the very best of health.